police. Tell the sheriff I shot him.
Who?
Tell him he's still on the loose.
Is this some kind of joke? I've been trick-or-treated to death tonight.
You don't know what death is.
Hey, yo, friends. What's going on? Happy Halloween. This is Shawn the Butcher, here with Ep.35 in Madness Pod, episode 35, a surprise early episode just for Halloween, just like we did last year. What's going on, Vertebrae? Trick or treat.
Trick or treat, Shawn. Here we are. We're ready for this episode. You've talked about this movie for a little while, wanting to talk about it, and we're going to dive into it, and we're going to get into some other cool stuff in the beginning, too. We're going to tell a few stories, so if you don't like too much shite in the beginning, you're going to hate this episode.
I mean, one of the stories about this movie is this movie was part of our very first Instagram live, like, foundational podcast, which was the birthplace of the next day you texting me saying you wanted to start this podcast. And here we are. We've pretty much come full circle.
Yeah, look at me. I think I was too hopped up on candy or something. I was too much candy. And
So I gotta
this is
ask
great.
you, Vertebrae, what's your Halloween candy of choice? What are you looking for? What are you digging for? I know your kid comes home with the bag, you grab the bag, you're like, oh, I gotta check this for items that, and really you're just grabbing your favorite candies out of there.
Of
and
course.
Stuff. What are you grabbing?
I mean, I like all the chocolate stuff. I'm not crazy about like the candy stuff, like Skittles, and I've passed that phase of my life. Any of the chocolate Reese's peanut butter cups are great. Shawn, where do you stand on candy corn?
I don't have the deep hatred for it that other people do. I don't even mind it that often. I don't even mind. I was just looking. They got the little pumpkins, but it's like the candy corn. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
like, these things are great. Yeah.
So here's a tip for everyone out there who's maybe on the fence with it. Take some candy corn and get some pretzels, a bowl of pretzels, mix it with the candy corn and eat those pretzels with the candy corn. Mixed together, it's like perfect with the salt and the sweet. It's a wonderful balance. You can probably melt them down and pour it on it. I don't know how that
Vertebrae, the mad scientist. If I'm Dr. Butcher, you're Dr. Frankenstein, definitely.
I'm good at like mixing up sweets and treats. I'm good like that. But
and crapping your brains out.
Well, no, I'm fine with that.
All that sugar. Yeah, it's always murder on my stomach for Halloween, but I'm always digging. My girlfriend makes fun of me because I'm always digging for Mr. Goodbar, and she's like, Mr. Goodbar, and I'm like, yeah, like, that's my shit.
The little yellow.
Yeah, yellow, and Butterfinger, like anything in yellow, you know, and
Butterfinger is great. There's a Take 5 is a fantastic. I'm not crazy about Kit Kats. I do like Twix. I don't hate Kit Kats, but it's
dip a Kit Kat in some peanut butters, yeah.
Snickers, Milky Way.
So you doing a costume? What are you dressing up as for Halloween, Vertebrae? With are you doing a family thing? Are you all gonna go as like Toy Story characters?
No, I'm just going to be the cranky old man giving out candy.
You should do Dr. Frankenstein. You should put on a lab coat and give him
you. I don't want to steal your gimmick.
Your pretzel candy corn concoction.
Yeah, I don't think you're supposed to give out concoctions to the kids who come to your house. That's probably a really bad idea. No, we had our big party already. You were there.
Oh yeah, you did. You did your creepy whatever that.
Yeah,
you did
so we
had
haunted
house. Yeah.
Halloween, we just kind of hang out, give out candy, hang out with the neighbors a little bit, chill, I always listen to the Halloween soundtrack. I'll always watch Halloween. Usually later that night, I'll watch it. Sometimes I'll watch this movie we're about to do. But Shawn, it's Halloween, but also we're coming down from New York Comic-Con. And a couple things about New York Comic-Con I wanted to tell you, and I'm sure you want to say a few things too. Firstly, I wanted to tell the story of Shawn the Butcher saving a young baby's life.
Oh, dude, how can we even bring this up on the pod? I was far too in it at that moment to be saved. And Vertebrae's a good dude. Let this be known that I'm standing there and this poor lady is trying to get down the steps.
Wait, so let's back up.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah,
leaving Javits, Jacob Javits Center, Manhattan. We get to we're gonna take the Long Island Railroad, and we get in there and hanging out for a little while, get to the steps, and there's these long steps, and there's a woman there who says there's no elevator. I'm sure there was an elevator somewhere, but the place is completely remodeled. So everyone's confused. I'm taking Shawn in entrances. He's not sure where I'm taking him to. And we get to the steps, and it's like, hey, she's starting to bring her stroller down the steps like backwards, but on an angle. And this is just a bad idea. It's one of these really big strollers. She's got stuff in it. If you remember, Shawn, there was lavender. She had like fresh lavender or something in the bottom to add to the weirdness of this.
No, I
Right?
don't remember I was too traumatized by what was
So
happening.
Shawn grabs the front. This is my favorite part of the whole story. Shawn grabs the front of the stroller, and it's kind of like almost like not square or rectangular. It's a little kind of oval. So if you grab the front, the sides are going to kind of go back and forth a little bit like a boat.
And it's heavy.
And it's heavy. So Shawn goes and you know, in full character, I guess he goes, Vertebrae, grab the side. And I'm laughing, and we help her down. She drops some lavender. Other people come over. It's a whole thing. Like, oh, that smells nice. And then we go away. And
I
Shawn
was
starts laughing.
eyeball to eyeball with that baby the entire way down the stairs. And I'm just sitting there, and I have like a 15-pound book bag over my shoulder and the shirts that I brought. And I'm carrying this baby carriage down the stairs.
Yeah.
And I've had a full day at Comic-Con, so my brain is just spent. Yeah,
Right. A few drinks, you know, you know what I mean? You're maybe not in the mindset to carry a baby stroller down the steps, but I got home and I was just laughing. I was like, Shawn, just go ahead and use Vertebrae in the middle of this scenario. So maybe that's new in Madness pod. We should have handed her a sticker. And
we
been
should
like,
have.
your baby's been saved by in
I should have
Madness.
just I just should have, like in the Twitter videos where
this-
they throw cheese at babies' heads. I should have just threw an In Madness sticker right at the baby's
It
head.
just sticks right on it, like it's the little rascals. Like it just lands there.
I'm really bad with giving, even at Comic-Con, you're like, did you give out stickers? And I'm like, no. And you're like, did you give Sandy King a shirt? And I'm like, no. So I kept having to like run back through the Javits Center to where I was to return some stickers and some shirts to people.
So what I did, I think it was Sunday because you weren't there. I text you, but there's our buddies at Mischief Toys who I'd partnered with on some products for the show, and I'm going to be working with in the future. Every day, Chris and Heather had these massive lines, right? They had people working for them that had to hold up something that said like end of the line because they're weaving it back and forth. And everybody was just fiending for these toys. They were releasing a new one every day. And I know we're going to have Chris on here in the future, so maybe we can bring it up when we do. But that was absolutely amazing to see that and to see the long lines. And so the line is out there Sunday, and they were sort of filtering from their booth and then would come over to my booth and buy like some of the Mischief stuff and some of my stuff. So I just grabbed a bunch of In Madness shirts, hit different sizes, and I went out by the line, and and then everybody sees you. It's merch, so they know they're giving it away, and all these hands go up in the air, and it was like, I'm a large, I'm a medium, and I'm just winging these shirts in the air like as high as I can and landing down. It was a pretty good shot actually. And then later on, one of the guys who works with Mischief is like, man, he's like, Vertebrae was trying to start like a riot over here in this line by throwing out free t-shirts. So there's a few people out there that hopefully they get the t-shirt and will actually go and listen to us. And if you are listening now, thank you very much, and dive back into our back catalog. And it's a good time to explore. But Comic-Con was awesome, Shawn. It was awesome to have you there. It was a fantastic show that we did. And I look forward to 2025. There's already plans in the works for 2025, and it was very cool. Very cool.
One of the plans gonna be me with the Britney Spears over the ear to the mouth microphone with the little speaker where I could just do like a auctioneer stuff for all the Vertebrae's things and be like,
yeah, I wanted you to like narrate the booth.
Step right up, Vertebrae 33 and Mischief Toy. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wanted Shawn to just pretend he was interviewing people, even if he didn't interview them, just so they'd come to the booth.
Yeah,
So, like, hey, you want to be on the radio? And then, like,
we set up a damn interview spot in your booth, and we had
yep,
a lot of heads coming through. I want to thank everybody. Shout outs to Seventh Inc. Shout outs to Basil. Shout outs to all the dudes from Mischief Toys who came through. It was a great time, a lot of good friends, and it was a lot of fun. And and shout out to close personal friend of the show, Sandy King, who got on yet again. And quick backstory behind that, I went by her booth four times going through the Javits Center on a Saturday, and gave puppy dog eyes up until I finally got her attention and was able to, like, can I steal your time for like 7 minutes, please? And she let me in.
that's
So shout out
awesome.
to Sandy King.
And shout outs to Stroller Baby, wherever you are, Stroller Baby. We hope you're okay. We hope that you had sweet dreams that night after looking into Shawn's beautiful eyes as you went down the steps.
Bloodshot ass eyes. Last year at this time on Halloween, we also dropped a surprise episode. What movie did we cover?
I don't remember. I'm supposed to remember this?
John Carpenter's Halloween. So we
Yeah.
decided for this year, we are going to do Die Hard 2. No, I'm
Yes.
kidding.
Die Hard with a Vengeance. Is that the one?
No.
Which one's Die Hard with a Vengeance?
No, that's the third one. I want to do that one. We could skip the second one. I think we should just go straight to the third one when we eventually cover that.
Third one? I don't. Yeah. Are we going to do the third one of any movie? I think the only third one we should do is Return of the Jedi.
That's and Alien 3 and
oh
Die
yeah,
Hard
that's
with a
your love,
Vengeance.
Alien 3.
Yeah, you kidding me?
Oh, Friday the 13th Part 3 in 3D.
Oh yeah, we could do that too. God, I've been watching the Friday the 13th movies, and I just I don't want to get into it now. We'll get into it when we hit Friday the 13th.
You're just madly in love with all of them.
Oh my God. I'm watching the fifth one, and it is the most, I'm sorry, atrocious movie I have ever seen in my entire life.
What's that sound you make for me?
No. So this year we are doing Halloween 2. Make sure you follow us on the socials. This is the premiere podcast, In Madness Pod, on the socials at In Madness Pod. Send us your emails and your voice notes to inmadnesspod@gmail.com. Everybody except Charlie, please. You can check us out on YouTube. Like, subscribe, comment, follow, give us the 5-star reviews. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist. Happy In Madness Thursday for this Halloween. Is that what day? Happy Halloween. Spread the madness. Tell everybody you know. Spread the word online. Spread the word through word of mouth. Tell everyone you know about this podcast. You can pick up your In Madness shirt that Vertebrae was just hucking away like hotcakes out at New York Comic-Con. InMadness.com. And what mug do you have for this episode?
So, like, I don't have any Halloween movie mugs, and I actually don't even have a lot of Halloween mugs, but I had this mug. This actually, I'm borrowing it for Mrs. Vertebrae, but it's kind of like got this, it almost looks like candy corn. That's why I was thinking of candy corn. Yeah. It's like got the little line around there. So
now I know what to get you next year at Comic-Con.
I'm very seasonal all the time with these mugs. You know what? I bought some mugs for upcoming movies that I know we'll do eventually. I just have them waiting. I've bought a few soundtracks for movies that I know we'll do eventually. But Halloween 2, Shawn, I'm going to put this out there right away. This is a weird movie. This is a very weird movie. And I don't know where I stand with this movie. Okay. I'm going to let you guide me and tell me, kind of where I end up here.
Okay.
This is the sequel to the 1978 classic. Comes out in 1981. Not directed by John Carpenter, but directed by Rick Rosenthal. Written and produced by Carpenter and Deborah Hill. And Carpenter's busy with The Fog at this time. The score is by Carpenter. It's a weird score. This theme is a weird one. They've gone off the rails a little bit in this one. And the original setting was supposed to have Michael track Laurie to a home in a high-rise apartment building. and then they changed it to where you end up in this hospital. And Carpenter does not like this movie. So if he ever gets on the podcast, we shouldn't ask him about it. He didn't want to make a sequel. He wanted that movie to stand alone. He kind of agreed to finally do it. He's on record as calling this film an abomination.
Carpenter.
So it's Jamie Lee Curtis back as Laurie Strode, Donald Pleasance back as off the rails Sam
Off
Loomis,
the fucking rails.
Charles Cyphers is Sheriff Lee Brackett, Lance Guest is Jimmy. And there's a bunch of nurses in there. Not a lot of nurses, by the way. And we'll get to that one. And it's like I said, it's primarily set in this hospital, and we can go through the kind of, there's some weirdness with this hospital. But I want you to take us right into this movie. But I will say that Rosenthal, there's a documentary that I watched on the making of this, and Rick Rosenthal has some weird feelings because I think Carpenter was, him being vocal about how much he didn't like it probably hurt his feelings a little bit. There was a novelization. You know how much I love movie novelization, Shawn, published in 1981. And I've never read it. I'm interested to read it. It did have black and white stills from the movie in it. You know how sometimes they would do that either in the middle section of those paperbacks, or like this one, I think was sort of throughout it. And there are, some callbacks to a lot of callbacks to the original film, and some things that were left on the table for the original film that they sort of touch on here, and some things that come from the novelization of the original film that ended up in Halloween 2, which is really interesting. So I think we should just dive in, because I got a lot of questions right off the beginning.
Oh, no. I probably won't be able to answer any of them. I love this movie. I own it on VHS. It's the last movie in the Halloween series that I feel like I really enjoy, because I feel like everything after that, I do not enjoy the rest of the movies that much. I love that it picks up where the first one left off. Even though I feel the first one did end perfectly, I feel like Carpenter, it should have been a one-off and been left alone, much like The Thing, to build that lore around it instead of franchising it. But regardless, I do love this movie. It's also one of my girlfriend's favorites because of the absolutely obliterated drunk Donald Pleasance, Dr. Loomis, yelling and screaming like a goddamn madman at everyone, trying to get through his lines. He has a couple of key lines that I'll highlight as we get to them. So, are you ready? Shall we go to get into Halloween 2 for Halloween? Happy Halloween, everybody.
Yeah, happy Halloween. So everyone get their players ready and hit play when we start this. You ready to go?
Sync it up on 3, 2. So the movie opens with the song Mr. Sandman. Do, 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 baby. I'm immediately adding it to the In Madness Spotify playlist, which is available if you check the details of any one of these episodes. If you click on the episode or click more or click whatever, we provide the link to everything: the Spotify, the YouTube, the t-shirts, Apple, everything is in the descriptions of every single episode. So that makes it easier for you to find. So I'm adding Mr. Sandman to the In Madness Spotify playlist. The movie opens, it's with the end of Halloween 1. Michael's choking Laurie. Loomis saves the day, shoots Michael off the balcony. He looks out onto the lawn and Michael is gone. However, in Halloween 1, Loomis shoots Michael 6 times.
Yeah.
In the beginning of this movie, somehow with his 6th shooter, shoots Michael 7 times.
Yes. Absolutely ridiculous.
And it's made even more funny by the claim that Loomis drunkenly, crazily makes throughout the rest of this entire movie.
Yeah, I don't know how this was caught, and then we just have Loomis screaming about, I shot him 6 times. I shot him 6 times. And it's clearly 7 times he shot him. I also think the ground, in this, they show the grass where his imprint was. I can't remember, and I wanted to go back and look, but I feel like the other one wasn't this nice, lush green lawn, right? I think it was like spotty with some dirt. I have to look. Somebody could correct me. I should have checked, but I feel like that shot is a little bit different. And yeah, I like the idea of picking up where the other one left off because we're just getting, you know, you had this night of terror, and now we haven't finished this night of terror. There's not some great resolution to this. We brought this up when we did the original Halloween, though. I'm always confused on how he falls off that thing,
Me too.
because if you pause it, he's like above the little like railing that's there. He's above it, so he wouldn't fall so clean. Like,
He
why would
would
he
have,
have climbed up on
his
it?
bottom half would have flipped over the railing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He's standing on something. You could tell if you pause it, and he's like floating above it. But I mean, listen, in the movie where you can shoot a guy a gazillion times, or in this case, 7 to start the movie.
6.
I'm sorry, 6. And that's what we're sort of nitpicking. But it's just when you see it so many times, you look at other things and you're like, oh man, that's weird. But yep, I like the idea. I'm not crazy about the alteration of the theme for the opening credits. It's a weird. I do have this score on soundtrack. I have the like a box set with all of them, all the originals together. But this one is a little bit weird. It's a little too, I don't know,
Keyboardy.
yeah, like disco-y kind
Blink,
of.
blink, 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 blink. Yeah, yeah. Loomis runs outside of the lawn with the spot where Michael's body was laying, rubs the grass, and his hand is coated with blood. Evil can bleed. We get one of my favorite scenes in film history. Next door neighbor wants to know what's all the commotion. Loomis yells for him to call the police. Tell the sheriff. Tell him I shot him. He's still on the loose. Neighbor goes, is this a joke? I've been trick-or-treated or to death tonight. Friggin' Loomis stops and says, you don't know what death is. He does a 180 and trots away into the night, and the newer plingy version of the Carpenter Halloween theme kicks in. Blink, 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 blink.
Yeah.
You don't know what death is. And then he's just out.
Where was that neighbor earlier when there was all other kinds of commotion
When
going on? Nobody
Laurie was
hears
running
anything.
up to every single house,
Yeah.
screaming and ringing bells.
Is that the house that just turns the light out?
Yeah, he's been
I wonder.
trick-or-treated to death.
Remember the one that just turned the light out?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder.
We get the opening title sequence, which I think is very cool. The
Yes.
classic carved pumpkin from the original Halloween, but as the names are being shown, the camera slowly zooms in and the pumpkin splits apart, and inside of it is a skull, which I think is badass.
I thought that was very cool. Yep.
So it says this was written and produced by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill. Did
Yes.
they? So they had a hand in writing this movie, but they don't like the way that it turned out.
Yeah, and Carpenter actually, they had like an original cut that Carpenter didn't like at all, and he had him add in kind of some more of the blood and a new death or two, I think, that wasn't in there before. And the reason it wasn't in there before is because Rosenthal was like, well, I want to do this in a way that was the original was done, but in Carpenter's mind, now we're hitting 81, so we've started to pass into this heavy duty slasher zone, and we've seen more things. So then we need to ramp it up. And I don't think Carpenter was in a good place for this when they're writing it and producing it. Like, I think it's just became, it's going to happen anyway. So we might as well, like, it feels like they just threw a lot of money at him to make sure he was attached to it. And then I think he just got through it. If you remember correctly, in the TV version of Halloween, they interjected all that family stuff for Laurie because they were filming this at that time. So, they kind of tied that in, and that has a really weird, makes for a really weird segment or two in this film that feels out of place and not needed. But yeah, I mean, listen, Shawn, he took the money and he went along for the ride, and he took somebody's xylophone and composed the score or something. I don't know. One of those little kid Fisher Price like ones, ding 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 ding. But
Shout out
I
to
love how he does the new scores when he did the new series. Those were fantastic. And I think Daniel Davies is involved. and I think his son is in. Cody Carpenter is involved as well. I think those scores for those 3 films are some of my favorite in the entire franchise.
We're looking from Michael's point of view. We hear his breathing. He's in the back alleys of Haddonfield, dipping between houses, trying to avoid detection. A cop car pulls up. He ducks behind the garage. He spots Loomis, who runs up to the cop car. Turns out it's Officer Brackett, because it's the same night. They're still been just driving around. It's Annie's dad from part 1. Loomis is screaming, I shot him 6 times. I shot him in the heart. He's not human. Mike looks into a house. An old lady's asking her husband if he wants mayo on his sandwich. Her hubby's passed out in the recliner watching the horror movie marathon featuring Night of the Living Dead, which I'm sure we'll probably get to eventually on In Madness Pod. The wife is standing in the living room looking at her sleeping husband. As Mike slips in the back door in the kitchen, a bulletin comes across the TV. Cops in Haddonfield just made a grisly discovery. 3 bodies. Murders just happened. All 3 victims are teenagers. From Mike's point of view, we're in the kitchen hearing the news bulletin, but also eyeing the kitchen knife the lady was just using to make the sandwich. He picks it up. His hand is covered in blood. The TV saying cops are searching the area for a mental patient who just escaped from Smith's Grove Sanitarium. We get this incredible shot. The husband's passed out in the chair, the glow of the TV on his face. The wife's behind him in the dining room. She's in a full shadow. And in the brightly lit kitchen, there's Michael just standing like a badass, holding the knife. I do love this Halloween mask. Every mask after I've hated, but the mask in this movie and the first movie are 2 of my favorites. And Mike dips out the back door.
So the mask in this movie is the mask in the original movie. It's just so deteriorated, and it wasn't kept in good shape. It was, I think, like Nick Castle would often have it in like his back pocket and stuff when they were filming. So it's pretty beat up. It's interesting when you go. First of all, nobody in this town locks a door or closes a window. They don't have any screens in these windows. We're just there. It's Halloween. It's obviously very warm out for Halloween because all these windows are open and nobody's in like a sweatshirt or anything. And she's super prepared for the sandwich because if you go back and you pause it, it's like the ham is there, the bread, she's already cut a couple pieces, but she has like mustard and mayo already open. And they got the glass Coca-Cola bottles next to it, like a 6-pack of that. But it's an odd move to open the condiments before like you're going to use them. Or maybe she was just opening them just now and she's asking him. But I find that interesting. But yeah, he's in this day and age, it's hard for us to imagine that this goes down. It's the same night and everybody doesn't know. But everybody doesn't know unless you listen to the radio or watch the news when it cuts in or somebody calls you on your phone at your house.
It's the 80s, kids. No Twitter.
Yeah, there's no way to get a hold of anybody. There's no way to explain what happened. Makes for an even weirder part in a little bit, but it's just that kind of isolation makes all of this even creepier. Because it just went on and you just heard sirens. You don't know what those sirens are unless you go down and check it out.
Being a nosy neighbor. In total shock at what she's hearing, the lady begins creeping backwards in the kitchen, horrified. She's reaching for the knife. Instead, she dips her hand into Mike's blood and lets out a scream. The shape exits the house and we follow his shadowed silhouette next door. The couple's neighbor heard the scream, comes out asking if they're okay. She gets no response and also doesn't see Michael standing right there. She goes back to her phone call saying the old lady's always picking on that man. He probably got angry and decided to start beating her. What a hell of a neighborhood Haddonfield is.
It's funny. This is like a different part of Haddonfield, right? Because it's past a certain area or something. But yeah, that's like... He says it so casually, like it doesn't matter.
Just beating their wives in the 80s like it was nothing. Unbelievable. The girl on the phone tells her friend that there's a murder in Haddonfield that happened in Orange Grove. The girl on the phone says that's right down the street. Uh-oh. No sooner does she say it than we hear police sirens in the background, and behind her, the front door opens and Michael is inside. The girl has no idea. She's startled by a noise, turns around to see the front door open. She begins approaching it to close it, and Michael pops out with his knife and stabs her.
Oh, Shawn. So I was thinking about this and I'm watching it again. All this is going on. You hear about this. You turn around, the front door's open. I think I'm gone.
Run, jump out the window.
I think I'd run right out that door, because why would they open the door unless they're going to go through it? Like, I mean, listen, Michael does play a lot of games. He starts playing a lot of games. He did in the original movie, and he stages a lot of things. It does feel like he does a lot of work for one guy once again, but I don't know. I think I would have just ran. Why do people in horror movies always just stop?
Do the opposite thing. There's a great show on Shudder called Horror's Greatest or whatever, and like it's got different episodes about different horror things, and one of the episodes is all about like horror tropes, like why are you running up the stairs instead of out the front door, not going out the window instead of, you know, checking the front door. Yeah, it's very funny. But yes, yeah, you're right. You're 100% right.
Take off already. Come on.
Back at little Tommy Doyle's house, we see our final girl, Laurie Strode, getting carried out on a stretcher and into an ambulance. Our EMTs, Tweedledee and Tweedledouche. We got big-hearted Jim Morrison from The Doors looking guy, jabroni kid Tweedledee, and his loser buddy driving the ambulance, Tweedledouche. They know Laurie from around the way in Haddonfield.
And they're like, oh my God, I think that's Laurie, but I'm not sure because she has a wig on.
Yes.
Yeah. So Jamie Lee Curtis got a wig in this movie because she had cut her hair short since they filmed the other Halloween. So it's very glaring in this scene when they take her out in the on the stretcher. You're like, whoa. And I think it's because we just saw scenes of her from the original. And so it's just like a little crazy. But I'm not sure why is she passed out because she lost a lot of blood? Is she in shock? Maybe it's shock.
Probably shock, yeah.
Yeah. So we get our first two of like 8 hospital employees here.
Only.
Yeah.
We get this really random scene of this kid in a pirate outfit. His whole face is busted open somehow. He's sucking on an ice cube, and his mom's walking him into the ER. And Tweedledee jabrones show up with Laurie.
Yeah, that's supposed to be like he got a razor blade in his candy.
What was going on in the 80s? Like,
nothing.
What the fuck was happening?
And it like never happened. But there was always a thing of like that there's gonna be like a razor blade and an apple, or in
Who's
the
giving out apples
candy
for Halloween? I would break your windows.
Well, it happened when I was little, Shawn. I'm older than you. There were times where I would get apples. I felt bad one year. It was an older lady who gave apples, and the kids were like smashing them in her driveway. And I felt so bad for her. Like I was like, I'll take the apple. I mean, there's no way my parents are going to let me eat it. There's absolutely no way. But I took it. I didn't want to smash it in her driveway. I felt bad, right? If she's looking out the window and like, or the next morning goes out there and there's
kids are the worst. Sorry.
Yeah, it's mean. But also, yeah, so that's where that comes from. That was also supposed to be kind of like kind of a first look into Carpenter and Hill's anthology idea. So what they wanted to do, because they didn't want to have the shape anymore, they didn't want Michael Myers, but the studio was like, we got to do another one, we got to do another one, we got to do another one. So they do it, and then they want to move on to their anthology series, which they tried in part 3. So you got a whole different story, and you didn't season the witch, and you don't have Michael at all. So that's where they wanted this to head. Almost like what they do now with Storm King Comics, where they have all the different stories and everything. So this was kind of like, maybe they would have picked that up with the razor blade in the next movie if they went that direction with it. And the public wasn't having it at that time. I think the problem was they named, and that's for another time with Halloween 3, but they named the same thing. So everybody was looking for Michael Myers.
I
But
guess
it's
wait till
interesting.
next Halloween.
I guess. I mean, is that what's happening?
I mean, it looks to be the tradition. It's a good tradition. It's good to have a tradition on the show, and I think we're starting a good one.
As long as we never get to the Rob Zombie films.
No, we could probably stop after 3, I think, or maybe we could do a 0.5 about like 4
Oh no, we got to do 4 and
5.
5. Those are
Okay.
wacky movies. Oh, I need to go into whole the Thorn. Yeah, I
Okay.
need. To,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We got to talk about Ant-Man.
Okay. Yeah. Oh,
Shawn, you
yeah.
know
You're right.
who's in
You're right.
this movie? And I don't know where he is. I couldn't find him, but Dana Carvey's in this film.
Really?
He's a little kid. And
We'll
there's
have to.
pictures online
Okay.
of him. I didn't have a chance to scour the film to find out the exact
We'll
scene.
find it out and we'll post it on the socials.
Yeah.
Definitely. It turns out the only doctor in this building was at the country club at the Halloween party, and good news, he's wasted. Everyone seems to know Lori. She's a celebrity in Haddonfield, apparently. And out walks drunk ass doctor to try and help. He also somehow knows Lori as well. Small town in this Haddonfield. Lori is begging them not to put her to sleep. She's horrified, but of course, they do. Loomis and Brackett are driving around hunting for Michael. Brackett is pissed and annoyed with Loomis, saying, "You let him out."
Mm.
Poor Loomis. Everyone blaming this dude like he opened the door to let Michael escape. Brackett says, "You couldn't have shot him 6 times. You must have missed. No man could take 6 bullets." Drunkenly, Loomis is like, "This isn't a man." Loomis yells for him to stop. "Look over there." We see a group of kids trick-or-treating, but further down the block, a kid with the same mask as Michael, sort of. This one seems to have blonde hair. Loomis runs out of the car screaming, and the kid does a 180 and walks the other way. Loomis is screaming like a psychopath, total maniac, pointing his gun, ready to fire. Brackett is restraining him. The kid is very worried. He begins running across the street in a hurry to get the hell away from psychotic ass Loomis. Which, my friends, brings me to my
milking
of the
of the
alpacas.
alpacas moment.
100%. 100% agreement.
The kid's jaywalking, and a goddamn cop car flies down the road a million miles an hour, hits the kid, sandwiches him between this van, and if that's not enough, it all explodes.
And we lose poor Ben Tramer. Who was the boy that Laurie, they talked about having a crush on in the first movie, and that's Ben Tramer right there. Who, by the way, if this is a time where people could be connected, maybe somebody's like, "Hey, what did he look like? Hey, he had this crazy mask on." I mean, you know, maybe if the kid's already wearing that mask, it's like, "Oh crap, I better take it off." The kid acts weird because he just started kind of walking strange.
He also acted weird in relation to the weird scenario he was put in with this drunk bald man screaming and waving a gun in his face.
Yeah, it's the first time you see this movie, that part just absolutely comes out of nowhere, and you're like, what is going on right now? I don't even know what happened.
Loomis is staring at this kid's corpse burning. Brackett is screaming, asking if it's him. Loomis can't tell, but also you can tell he knows it's not. And now he's got another goddamn dead kid in Haddonfield, and this one 100% is on him, not Michael. Friggin' crazy ass Loomis. Cop pulls up, gives Brackett the awful news. His daughter Annie is dead. They all get in a car and drive away. Best part is this goddamn accident still just happened, and this kid's corpse is burning, sandwiched between 2 cars. No one seems to do or say a damn thing about it. Doesn't matter. Annie's dead. That's what matters. They just leave the cop who pancaked this kid to deal with it. It's like, your problem now, dummy.
This town of Haddonfield has one of the worst support systems. No wonder these people are so angry, and they want to go protesting and throwing rocks in windows and carrying people to the dumps in future films. I'd be that angry too. They've got like a lousy police force. They've got Haddonfield Memorial Hospital, even though they refer to it as a clinic a few times. It's this huge building. There's only like 8 people working there. There's literally no patients in this building, and like the service is poor all over the place.
You know, I mean, just you describing it, Haddonfield seems a lot like Springfield in The Simpsons.
Yeah.
The same with the police force with Chief Wiggum, and there's the one Dr. Hibbert, and then there's the crappy doctor, "Hi, Dr. Nick. Hi, Dr. Nick." Yeah, there's a lot of Springfield and Haddonfield.
That's true. I never thought of it that way.
The nice EMT kid seems to have a crush on Lori. He goes to check on her, but he gets kicked out by the head nurse. Media has flooded Haddonfield, reporting on all the hell that is breaking loose. The jabroni EMTs come out of the house with Annie's body. Brackett removes the tarp from her face. She's dead. He's in total shock. He says, "I have to go tell my wife." Brutal. And just to twist the knife a little deeper, he stares daggers at Loomis and again screams, "Damn you! You let him out!" And again, poor Loomis trying to defend himself. I didn't let him out. I gave them orders for him to be restrained. Poor bastard. He's just getting blamed for everything, and it was not his fault, except the kid who got pancaked.
So I just realized who Dana Carvey was.
Oh, who was it?
So it's in this scene. There's a reporter, a blonde reporter who's talking, and there's a person with a baseball cap on, kind of like a bright blue trucker hat, and that's Dana Carvey.
Cool. Gnarly bits. Now we got a new cop running the show. Let's call him Blondie. Loomis is grilling him about the burned up body. Blondie's sure it was Michael, but Loomis ain't so sure. He says Michael isn't even remotely human. I fired 6 shots into him. He just got up and walked away. He is still out there. Kid walks by, listening to his boom box, but he's listening to 10-10 Wins instead of music.
It's so weird. It's just so weird. Like,
that's his costume. Why? He's a hippie with a boombox listening to 10-10 Wins.
Here's the thing: is like, and if you live somewhere else in the country, you don't know what 10-10 Wins is, but it's the
news station.
Whatever AM news station is in your area. But I mean, maybe Shawn, like, he was listening to something else, and then they break in with this news break, but he's still just bopping along with it.
Okay, I could take that. It's like an emergency broadcast alert. So he was
right. They already did it in the TV. Here's the thing, though: we don't have a description of him, right? Because the only person that could describe him would be Lori, and she's like in this comatose state. They send her to the hospital with not one police officer. There's no detective that goes. Right, because there's only like 8 cops or something. They haven't called anyone in from other towns. But like, they would, for sure. I'm not a police officer, but I assume somebody's been the victim of this awful crime. This guy who's still on the loose. I would think somebody goes with her to protect her. They should, like, police protection. There's more than one. There's only one security guard at the hospital anyway.
Jabroni.
But yeah, this is an interesting town. They have a very, very poor support system.
Even the radio is saying Loomis shot him 6 times. It's also saying there's a survivor, Laurie Strode, who's been taken to Haddonfield Hospital. As this is said on the radio, the kid bumps into Michael Myers. He walks to the end of the block, sees a sign for the hospital, and heads that direction. One of the nurses at the hospital pulls up for a graveyard shift. She heads inside. The camera pans backwards, and standing there, reflecting in the side mirror, is Michael.
That I didn't understand. So he just sashayed up to the car after she pulled away, just to kind of have a cool shot, I guess.
Yeah, I'm going with that.
Yeah, I mean, his intent, and they make it clear in this film, is his intent is Laurie. Doesn't explain all the other stuff, though, when you make it like, why stop and do these other things if your intent was Laurie? And this, unlike your buddy Charlie, I'm gonna give a spoiler warning.
I'll lock your ass up.
Yeah, if you haven't seen this movie, but we jump all over the place, but we're gonna get a big reveal later on, these connections, which really makes it a little confusing. Michael's necessity to kill other people and to also, like, stage things and stuff like that kind of takes away from that. a little bit if he just has that one intention. Maybe he's a kid trapped in an adult's body and he can't help himself.
It
But
takes
yeah,
away
that's
from him just being the incarnation of evil.
yes. Yeah, because whenever you give a reason behind it,
Yeah. Then he goes
um,
from being the shape to just Michael.
and that's part of my 1 million issues that I have with the Rob Zombie Halloween movies. That
I promise we won't do those.
is that the need to really, really explain it and show like,
Hammer the
oh,
point home. Yeah.
and be sympathetic for his upbringing, and that removes just this pure evil that was in the original, and you can't reason with it, and and now he's got a plan. I like Michael making plans as he goes along, but I don't think I think that piece was really unnecessary to tie this all up.
I beg to differ, but we'll get there.
I love it. This is awesome. Our
Yeah, I don't
first
mind it. I don't mind. We got the EMT Tweedledoosh dude is somehow just sitting inside the hospital smoking a joint. How is this even possible in that day and age when it was illegal? Now we get our empty ass hospital, something I remember Vertebrae bringing up in our very first IG Live, which we did long ago, which ended up starting this podcast.
Mhm.
We got Jabroni security guard reading Mad Magazine, not looking at the security monitor, clearly showing Michael lurking around the building.
Mhm.
Tweedledoosh keeps cursing in the break room, being annoying because he's Tweedledoosh, and one of the nurses gets really annoyed and leaves. Another nurse walks in the room, and her and this loser seem to have some sort of thing going on. From Michael's POV, he's inside walking around this empty ass hospital, but a nurse comes around the corner, so he ducks into a maternity ward with a bunch of fresh newborn babies, and he's hiding this psychopath murdering killer in a room with a bunch of babies. Super disturbing.
Yeah, that's very disturbing. Also, their lighting system in this hospital is very disturbing. It's so dark. It's so incredibly dark in this hospital. It's just they're just turning lights off left and right, like you know. And the baby thing. Who's watching the baby, Sean?
That late, the dumb lady who likes the dumb dude.
Yeah, but she's late, and she says something to her about being late, and it could cost the babies their lives. But who was watching them before she was late? Because it's not like she relieves the shift of anyone else.
Babies, you're on your own.
Yeah. And what happens to the babies at the end of the movie?
Oh yeah. I mean, hopefully. Oh my god. I didn't even think of that. Hopefully, that room's not next to the maternity ward.
Yeah. Crazy talk.
Oh my god, that's so funny. There was babies' arms and legs everywhere.
Oh, Sean.
I didn't even think of that. Nice guy EMT is dishing out all the news to Lori, telling her she got attacked by Michael Myers. She's shocked. From the Myers house? The little kid who killed his sister? She wants to know why he's after her, but the head nurse barges in the room and kicks the dude out again. They're trying to contact Lori's parents, but no one knows where the hell they are. The nurse goes to use the phone, but the line's dead.
Mm.
Lori immediately knows something's up. Jabroni
She's awake now, but nobody's there. No detective is there to question her to ask what like the killer looked like. Can you get us a description so we can tell people? Because hey guys, it's Halloween, and guess what? There's a bunch of people running around in costumes. So like we should try to find out what this guy is dressed like. Nobody cares.
Not even the drunk doctor. Jabroni's security guard is on the job. He's going to fix the phones. He tells a nurse to help him by keeping in contact with him on the walkie-talkie. But luckily, she has absolutely no idea how to use it. The security guard notices the storage room has been broken into and is telling the nurse someone needs to drive to the sheriff's station right away to report it. Because for whatever reason, this dude can't, even though this seems exactly like the sort of thing that would be his job to do.
Yeah, it's 100% his job requirement. And he doesn't take the 2 minutes to explain to her how to use the radio. How long would it have taken him to do that? There's this massive hospital. There's not one other security guard. There's not anyone he can call for support. I mean, I guess at this point he's just going to go look and see if there's something wrong with the phone lines, and that's what he's doing. And we're not, as viewers, we know that there's something awful going on, and they don't know. He just seems annoyed that he has to go do anything.
None of this matters because the nurse cannot figure out how the walkie-talkie works. So he's talking to absolutely nobody. There's about 5 whole minutes of teasers where things are making noise and he's going to inspect, and you get a cheap jump scare because an animal hops out or things fall out of a closet. So finally he checks behind a door. He closes it, and that, my spooky friends, I feel is the perfect spot for us to stop. Ha ha! You only get half an episode. Trick or treat, smell my feet, and kiss my ass. You will get part 2 of Halloween 2 on the regular In Madness Monday. And then we're going to take a Monday off after that because your boys are bleeding out the eyes like Michael at the end of this movie from how much we got going on. Thank you for being here. How do you feel, Vertebrae, about Halloween 2 Part 1, Episode 35 of In Madness Pod?
I was good until you told our listeners to kiss your ass. That was a little mean. Sean's getting mean for Halloween.
They thought, oh, we get a full new episode for Halloween? You get a half an episode, and you get the other half in a couple of days from now.
That's right. We split an hour and a half long movie into 2 parts. We did it. But no, I think it's cool. I've got a lot more questions for you.
I know.
I've got a lot of concerns about this
too. And even the things that I like that no one else likes, even though I know they don't make sense, much like the movie Lucy, I like it anyway.
Yeah, we're going to have a lot of questions in part 2, but I appreciate anyone spending any time with us whenever you listen to this, especially if you happen to be listening on Halloween. How cool would that be?
Trick or treat.
Appreciate it. I'm Vertebrae33 on all the socials. You can check me out. Buy a t-shirt. Don't buy a t-shirt. That's cool. Kiss my feet. Whatever Shawn said. Smell my feet. But no, it's awesome. Try some candy corn mixed with pretzels. Tell us what your favorite Halloween candy is. Let us know. Reach out to us.
Costumes too. I want to see what you're dressing up as on the socials at In Madness Pod, inmadnesspod@gmail.com. You could watch this on YouTube. Check out the In Madness Spotify playlist. Spread the madness. Tell everybody you know. Get your shirts at inmadness.com. Again, all of these links to every single thing is in the description or the click more part of every single episode. You just click it, click the info button, and everything is right there for you. Yeah, that's all I got for Halloween 2. Trick or treat. Anything else you wanted to promote?
No, that's it. Just remember, we shot him 6 times.
6 times. We'll see you next week.